how to scale your agency with a little less pain, and we're going to be sharing a few different tips, tricks, hacks to help you serve more clients. If you can just let me know using the chat box that you can hear me okay, the audio is working, that you can see the presentation deck on the screen as well, that would be fantastic, and then we will get things started. Awesome. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for letting me know everything's okay. So I can see we have 10 of you here at the moment. I'm sure a few more people will start to join in the next couple minutes, but I think we can just we can start to get to know each other a bit better and kick off today's session very, very shortly. So for everyone who is new here, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to introduce this webinar series in the next couple minutes time. But in the meantime, please let me know using that chat box. If you've been on these webinars before, then say yes. If you are new to these webinars, if this is the first time on one of these webinars for you, say no. So no if you're new here, yes if you've been here before. I know there's already a few familiar faces that I see, Todd, I'm pretty sure Karen as well. But it's really cool to see if there's any people who's first time on one of these webinars today. Okay, so Debbie, first time here, welcome Debbie. Same for you, Margaret, welcome. I hope you find today's session useful. I hope you enjoy today's session as well. Okay, I can see a couple more people joining us too, which is fantastic. So I think I am going to just jump straight into today's content. I don't want to waste any of your time. I want to make sure you take the full value from this. We will probably take around about 35-40 minutes for today's webinar, and then we always stop for like Q&A at the end of the session as well. One thing you'll learn from me if you are new here, I like to keep these webinars extremely interactive. So I'm asking lots of questions as we go, asking for you all to engage as we go too. So make sure you do use that chat box that we have within the webinar software, because I like to make this more than just me sitting here and presenting to all of you. Okay, so today we're going to cover three things. We're going to cover what it is really that prevents a lot of us as agency owners from scaling our business, and then we're going to cover a few different tips for growing your agency and serving more clients, and then we'll go into the Q&A session. We will also talk towards the start about some tips around scaling specifically as well, and kind of answering that question too. So let me introduce myself for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Dylan Hay, and I'm assuming all of you here on today's webinar session, I also own my own marketing agency. So I own an agency called Hey Digital. We specialize in PPC and landing page design and creation for software and tech companies. I actually am not a full-time employee of Promo Republic, so you can think of me more as an evangelist, a brand ambassador. So for any of you who don't know, last year Promo Republic launched an agency-specific version of their solution, which is designed specifically to support you guys as agency owners to help you grow your business, build better relationships with your clients, generate more revenue. And we will cover that at some point in today's session. I will show you some kind of brief ins and outs of the tool itself. But when they launched this product last year, they approached me as they were looking for somebody to help be the kind of front of a lot of this content. They wanted to make sure that if they're building a tool specifically for agency owners, Promo Republic wanted to make sure that they were the absolute leader within this space, making sure that they were educating agency owners, giving them access to lots of free resources, putting together online events, excuse me, online events and online summits, ebooks, guides, templates, these webinars. So this is part of a wider series, which is called the Agency and Freelancer Academy. There's also a Facebook group, so go ahead and check that out if you're active on Facebook. And I am the lucky one that gets to lead a lot of these. I have a lot of experience in, of course, growing my own agency and my own business, but also online education. I have my own Facebook group, my own YouTube channel. I love to do webinars. I do these on a weekly basis. I do live calls. I do coaching. I have a program coming out soon. So that's why you're listening to me today. And before setting up my own agency, I worked for a couple of the social media companies. Hootsuite, a lot of you probably know them. I hosted a podcast called the Social Media Growth Show. I speak at lots of different social media events. You can see some pictures of that on the screen here. So one from me speaking at Social Media Week in Kiev. There's a picture of me visiting the team at LinkedIn, all kinds of stuff. So that's a little bit about me. As I said, we've been doing these webinars every week or every other week for a very, very long time now, for 6 or 7 months, I believe. And this is our way of giving back to you and supporting you. And I am just the person that is fortunate enough, lucky enough to be leading that and leading that content. So that's a bit about me, but let's get into today's content. But before we do that, actually, one more quick thing. So we are at Promo Republic at the moment putting together a huge study of different agencies and trying to understand what the state of marketing agencies is in 2019 and how we can help you grow your agencies, grow your businesses, how to overcome your challenges, maybe what kind of tools that might be able to support you, and just provide you as agency owners with some more insight. So this guide or this study is going to be coming out soon. But one thing we were asking for everyone on these webinars and everyone around the world really is that if you are an agency owner, please go ahead and take a couple of minutes to fill in this survey. I've actually just put the link in the chat for the webinar. Take a minute, fill in the survey, and actually a couple of lucky people will also be selected to win 1 year's annual subscription to the Promo Republic agency solution completely free of charge. And everyone who takes part will also get some goodies too. I think you'll be the first ones to be told about this study when it's complete and a few other bits and pieces. So if you have the time, 2 or 3 minutes, please go ahead and complete that. I would really appreciate that. Okay, before we get into today's webinar, let me know using that chat box. Give me a yes if you are ready to get into today's content, and you'll get started. Awesome. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Debbie. I can see Margaret typing away too. Thank you, Margaret. Cool. Let's jump into things then. Let's get into this content. So first of all, we're going to talk about what is it that prevents many of us as agency owners from scaling our businesses. Now, before we do that, I want to ask a question. Let me know using that chat box, what kind of size agency are you managing at the moment? Let me know how many employees you have, whether it's full-time employees, contractors, freelancers. I don't mind, but just let me know how many employees you have, what kind of size business you are at the moment. And then we can kind of go from here. Okay, so Karen and about 6 contractors. Todd is solo with some contractors. Debbie is fairly small. No problem. And it's not a bad thing to be small and only have 1 contractor or anything like that. I'm not saying that's negative. I just want to find out where we're all at the moment as agency owners before we get into this. So what is it that prevents many of us from scaling, stops many of us getting larger than we are at the moment? I wanted to start with this slide. Some of you, I know you've been on these webinars before. If you were on the webinar just over a month ago, some of what I'm going to cover today is something that we covered, or some of what I'm going to go over today even was covered on a webinar a month and 2 weeks ago or something like that when we were talking about profit margins, but it's really important to this subject too. So if you have seen this before, don't worry, there are some new things in this webinar today also. But many people say that growing an agency is very, very difficult. Like the screenshot you see down at the bottom, this was a blog post written by Sujan Patel. I'm sure many of you know who Sujan Patel is. And he said that obviously some business models are easier to scale than others, and he feels that scaling an agency is very, very difficult. But then other people, you'll hear these stories and see these stories about rapid agency growth. The screenshot at the top is from one of my mentors, a guy called Jonathan. He runs an agency called Client Boost, and they grew their agency from 0 to $1 million in 12 months. And I think they're actually just about to hit $850,000 or $900,000 monthly recurring revenue, which is awesome for an agency that's like 3 or 4 years old. So there's lots of split opinions about, is an agency easy to scale? Is it difficult to scale? And a lot of the time, the biggest thing that's stopping us from scaling and effectively scaling is probably our mindset. Now, this slide here is kind of a bit of a joke on myself and some other people out there. I don't want to be this Debbie Downer. I don't want to make everyone feel discouraged from building their agency. But it's definitely not all driving Lambos like this guy up here and living in mansions in Bali and around the world. That is me in a mansion in Bali that I stayed in April, but I thought that would be funny to put here. But it's not all about living in mansions and driving Lambos and sipping coconuts on the beach whilst working 2 hours a day whilst your agency is exploding. Like, you see these stories a lot, and honestly, the reality is that much of the inspirational hype you read online about rapid agency growth, a lot of it is complete BS. And I'm as jazzed and excited as anybody when I read stuff like, okay, you can build your agency and retire at 28, or you get to do what you love, or you only have to work 30 minutes a week from a beach and drink coconuts all day, or whatever. And look, I tried that. I've tried those lifestyles. I tried living the digital nomad lifestyle while building my agency for a number of months. I tried living on a in these amazing places in Bali and working a couple hours a day. And it's fine, it works. You can sustain the level that you're at. But one thing I learned whilst doing that is it makes it very, very hard to grow and significantly scale your business. And often the biggest thing that stops many people from growing and scaling their agencies, as I said already, is mindset. They're just thinking too small. But before we start talking about that, it is important to start asking us a couple of questions and a couple of things to consider before we even think about scaling. Because once your business has moved past that startup phase and you've built a strong reputation, you have a good client base, which, by the way, congratulations if you're at that point, because it definitely isn't easy. It can take a lot of time. But once we get to that point, that is where the real strategy begins. How to scale your business and how to scale it without significantly increasing overhead is one of the most difficult challenges that a lot of us will face as agency owners when we get to that point. And after all, you're here to make a profit, right? So you don't want to take on more and more work, take on a larger and larger payroll, all just to make the same amount of money at the end of the day or the end of the month or end of the quarter. So before you take on more clients and hire additional staff to service those accounts, ask yourself a couple questions first. And this is the first one. Why do I want to scale? What kind of business do I actually want to run? Now, building out a monster agency isn't for everyone. Not all of you will want to do that. Me personally, that's something that is a big aspiration, dream, and goal of mine. I am going to turn my agency into this big team. I'm going to have a team of 40, 50 people, maybe more. We're going to have these significant revenue numbers. I'm not there yet, but we're on that path at the moment. But that's not for everyone. Some people just want an agency to replace their income from their job. Maybe they're happy making a few $1,000s a month, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But I'm just saying when it comes to scaling, don't start thinking about trying to rapidly scale just because you read that that is the thing you should be doing or that's the thing that everybody is talking about, right? Think about what kind of business do you want to run, because there are different challenges that come with scaling. When I get my business to the point of having 30, 40, 50 employees, am I really going to be able to go and live in Bali for a month like I did in April? Probably not. Am I really going to be able to go and do a 10-day silent meditation retreat with no access to phone and email like I did last year? Probably not, right? So think about where you're at right now and what kind of business you actually want to run before you even start to consider scaling. So that's the first question to ask yourself. The second one, though, is again really, really important. And this is something that many of us overlook. I've sometimes made this mistake too. Only now are we at the point where now is the right time for us to hire some full-time employees and start to really push things forward. But ask yourself this: if you lose one or two existing clients, will you be able to maintain things like payroll and expenses? Situations are always changing. Clients can leave you when you least expect it, often due to circumstances out of your control. You'll all know this if you run agencies, right? And if this happens, can you maintain your overhead without those clients? Because if the answer is no, then you need to figure out what client to employee ratio makes sense for your business financially. Make sure you have a 1 or 2 account buffer in the very minimum before starting to scale, taking into account any unexpected changes. Taking on new accounts, hiring staff to service them, of course, that's the definition of scaling the business, but not if that retainer is only paying for the new employee and not adding to your bottom line, right? The key is to finding out the number of accounts required to comfortably cover the expenses related to it plus profit. And then once you hit that number, then start hiring. I tried to hire too early before. Only now am I personally at that point where it works for me, where it's worthwhile to hire more people. And then the other question is, how involved will you be in new accounts? Can you still deliver a great service? There are only so many hours in the day, right? And you can only personally handle so much. One of the keys to successfully scaling is having a strong team in place that can service the accounts as you grow, because you're going to have less involvement in the day-to-day. The way that I brought on all of our initial clients from my agency was through my personal brand. I'd built out content, people knew who I was within my industry, I had a good reputation, and all the clients I was servicing myself. I was the main point of contact, but as we start to grow, I can't be the main point of contact for everyone. So we need to build out a solid team that can deliver on that. You need to establish this firm chain of command within the business and begin implementing it from day one with any new accounts to make sure you set the precedent for how account operations are going to go, right? You can't scale the business if you spend the entire day as the sole point of communication on all of your accounts, because then you won't have time to do anything else. Like if you're just the only point of communication with all of your clients and doing the client work, there's no physical way that you can grow. And then finally, think about this. Is scaling actually going to make us more profitable? This is something that I've touched on a couple of times now. But if you hire more, bring on more clients, and then you have to hire more people, and actually you're no better off than you were before, then of course it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you grow your business if it doesn't make you more profitable? So take a look at your margins, think about increased costs, think about hiring. In the past, for me, at my business, it's just been me, my co-founder, and some contractors and freelancers, right? And that's been fine up until now. We pay our contractor on a per account basis. So each account I bring on, I pay him per account to manage that account. And that was fine up until now, but now that we're starting to grow, it makes more sense for me to hire full-time employees and pay them a fixed monthly amount rather than a set amount per client, per contractor, if that makes sense. So just start to take into account some of these numbers. Is that making sense for everybody so far? What are you thinking of what I've been saying? Is it clear? Is it useful, interesting? Please let me know in the chat box. Awesome, thank you, Todd. I appreciate that. Thanks, Margaret. Cool. Also, totally off topic, but one thing I'm going to do on the next webinar. Usually, I don't have my camera on when we do this webinar series because in the past, sometimes Click Meeting isn't the most stable, and even if I do have it on, the webcam quality for some reason, even though I have like an HD webcam, the quality doesn't show up too great. But one thing I'm going to test next week is I've now just purchased this thing called the CamLink Pro, which allows me to connect my DSLR camera and use it as my webcam. So I'm going to try that on next week's webinar and see if that works. See if that works out. Be a bit more interactive with you all. Okay. Who wants to get into the tips? 5 tips to help you grow your agency. These are going to be like sales-related tips, tips to help you grow faster, tips to help you scale essentially and serve more clients, because that's really important. Awesome, cool. Okay, so a few of you are ready for that. So let's jump into things. I'm going to share a few interesting tips. Well, they're all going to be interesting. Some are new, some you might have seen before if you've been on these webinars. I like to mix these up every so often. Number one is, especially for those of you who are scaling, how many of you are doing social media management for your clients right now? Let's talk about that first. Yeah, okay, cool. I knew some of you would be because that's why you're here. But the first tip is to introduce some tools that remove the need for some manual labor across your team. And I'm not saying like use tools for everything, but what I am saying is as you start to grow, as you start to scale, if you've hired someone who is an expert at something, so for me, I have my PPC account managers. For you guys, it might be your social media managers. If you've hired someone to do that role, let them spend as much of their time possible doing what they're good at. What they're good at isn't scheduling posts. What they're good at for me isn't spending time tweaking spelling in ad copies, or it isn't spending time identifying optimization opportunities, right? So what we do at my agency is look for tools that we can utilize that help my team have more time to spend on the things that they are really highly skilled at. So I'm not saying bring in tools and get rid of your employees, but what I'm saying is think about what tools you can use so that your employees can spend their time more effectively on things that drive the revenue and the growth of the business forward more. And also things that can improve your relationships with your clients too. So for me, for example, when it comes to just increasing our bottom line, I actually have a consulting client where every month we do 2 phone calls with them, and I go through their accounts, I give them some feedback, some ideas, some things that they can implement to drive better results from their paid advertising, right? And up until a month ago, I would have one of my PPC managers on that call with me, and I would pay him to be on those calls with me. And one thing I discovered a couple months ago now is a special account auditing and optimization tool that we use for all of our clients now across the agency to help us uncover optimization opportunities across their account. And I realized that I can use that instead of using my employee who was manually going into the accounts and finding these opportunities. I can use a tool to help me. So then I paid a little bit for the tool, maybe like $90 or $100 a month, but I don't have to pay my employee for the time to be on the call. So for me, that was a way of increasing our revenue and will help us continue to scale. For you, it might be, and the same, all my account managers use that tool to help them within the accounts that they manage. For you with social media, it can be something like the agency-specific solution from Promo Republic. So how many of you right now are utilizing like Google Sheets or spreadsheets to create content calendars, and then share it with your clients, send it for approval, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm sure some of you are. So Margaret says that she is, for example. So one thing that you actually start to do, let me just show you, because I think it'll be easier if I show you. So bear with me for 2 seconds. Let's try this. Okay, and please let me know once you can see my screen. I should be screen sharing, so just let me know that you can see the screen in the chat box. That would be awesome. Awesome, cool, thanks Todd. So one thing that you can do is utilize a tool like Promo Republic. I'm going to show you as the agency-specific version of Promo Republic, but you can utilize a tool like this to help you spend less time, or no time ideally, within those spreadsheets, so that you don't have to email backwards and forwards with your client. You can actually collaborate with them in a much smoother process, but also your team can spend less time creating, not just creating content, but less time building assets and then downloading them to their computer and then uploading them to their scheduling tool, so that it can save them time so you can grow more, you can increase your profit margins, and also some ways that you can just have better relationships with your clients. Now, what you see is a Promo Republic dashboard. If you take a look at this new screen share, you'll see that everything is branded up in its own way. So Promo Republic, the agency-specific solution, can be fully white labeled like this. So you can share this tool with your client when we come to the client collaboration features, which we'll discuss in a moment. You can share it with them and they'll see that you have your own agency tool. So it'll be your logo up here in the left, your branding, your domain name up here. We just did this pink with a love heart because we put this demo account together when we did the webinar on Valentine's Day. But think of this as all of your own branding, right? And your client will see that. And instead of sending them content plans in Excel or Google Sheets, you'll send them a link to this platform, and it will look just like this when the content is scheduled, right? So the content can come in, but rather than just sending it immediately, you can actually schedule content for approval so that your client can take a look at it. So look at these posts here where it says approval, edit, approval, edit. This is where we've put together our content calendar. This is just a demo account, by the way, but we've put our full content calendar here within this demo account, so our client can come in and they can see all of these posts that we want to put out there. And they can see, okay, this is going to be posted to Facebook at this date, this time, this is the creative, this is the post itself. They can actually type in comments here. So I'm just going to type in test, not sure about this one, for example. And I can leave that comment. So my client could leave that comment so that we can see that we can edit things, or they can just click on approve. So this is one way that you can remove the need for those backwards and forwards emails, and you can use something that looks much more professional than Google Sheets, emails, etc., because this helps you then increase the pricing for your agency too and make more money because you're positioning yourself as this real leader if you have your own tool. So this is one way that the agency-specific solution of Promo Republic can be absolutely awesome for all of you running social media agencies. But the other thing is, there's plenty of other things too, right? I'm not going to give you a full demo because that's not what we're here for today. But how many of you currently utilize a tool like Canva or Adobe Spark or Photoshop even to create graphics to share on social media? How many of you are doing that? Okay, so Margaret, think about this, right? When I used to do social media management, before I made the switch to paid ads, when I used to do social media management, my social media manager would go into Canva, he would create all of the posts and all of the graphics in Canva, he would then download them to his computer, he would then open up Hootsuite, because I used to work at Hootsuite, so we use that tool. He would open up Hootsuite, upload the files from his computer to Hootsuite, and then schedule them, which doesn't sound that bad. But when we switch to Promo Republic, because this Canva-like editor within Promo Republic, which I'll show you in a moment, it removes the need to download posts to a computer, go to another app, upload them. So because everything was done in one place and scheduled straight from here after it had been created, it saved him 6 or 7 hours per week. Now imagine if your team had an extra 6 or 7 hours per week. You could either spend less on them if they're paid hourly, or they could be focusing on more important tasks during that time, which helps you generate more leads, more clients, do a better job for your clients. So look at this. This, first of all, is the post ideas library. So there are over 100,000 different ideas in here for posts. They're ready-made, ready to go. New ones are added every single month. And I've just sorted these by food and restaurant, but we can also go by lots of other things. So upcoming events, you can see here National Refreshment Day. Is that today, the 25th? Yep. So today is National Refreshment Day. we have this post ready to go. And you'll see it's an awesome post put together by the team at Promo Republic. Once this opens up, we can then either just use the post as is and immediately schedule it, or I can go in and edit absolutely everything. So I can, if I have the agency solution of Promo Republic, each one of my clients will have their own branding stored within the tool. I don't have to change it each time. And I can just go through and add in their logo, change the colors, use their typography, etc. And then I can use this. I don't even need to download it, and I can schedule it for approval or just post it immediately. And you'll see everything is editable. We can change the images. I can change like the saturation, the contrast, all this stuff. I can remove certain things if I want. I can edit the text, do everything that you could do in Canva, but all directly within the tool that you are using. So this is one awesome thing about Promo Republic specifically. I'm not going to give a full demo, as I mentioned, but just one or two more things that I think some of you will find really interesting. How many of you struggle with reporting sometimes for your clients? I know some of you will. So I'll show you here. We actually have the Promo Republic reporting built in. You can export PDF reports fully branded to your clients as you please, based on numbers like audience insights, reach, engagement, posting habits. Show them the top posts that you published along with metrics, etc. Very, very quick, very, very easy. You can also go into statistics for more in-depth stats on each post that you put together, the post efficiency, the reach, how many likes it got, all this kind of stuff. So lots of ways that you can actually improve your client's experience, because ultimately that's how we're going to grow our agency, is by keeping our current clients happy, but also bringing on plenty of new ones. And then finally, before we get back to the webinar deck, how many of you work with local businesses, like let's say restaurants or companies where like Google reviews matter, Google My Business reviews matter and have an impact on their business? Yeah. So imagine if there was a tool where you could see every time someone comments on your Facebook post, they tweet you, they comment on something on Instagram, they leave a review, you can filter everything together directly in one feed so that you never miss something to respond to. You can manage reviews in here, you can manage comments, mentions, Facebook posts. These are all people mentioning the Promo Republic Facebook page, right? And I can see them all individually, I can resolve them, I can answer them, I can go directly to the post and engage with it. Same with Instagram, I'll see it here, so I can see comments here, everything that we can respond to. So this is also an upsell opportunity for you, for your clients. If you're managing their social media, you can now offer them social media monitoring and community building to responding to all of those comments, engaging with the community. And all of that is directly inside the agency-specific solution of Promo Republic. There's also, you can work with a team on a professional content services. They can actually create content bundles for you and loads of other stuff. But I think we should get back to the webinar deck. So one thing that I would like to say to anyone who's watching this that thinks, okay, that sounds interesting to me. Yes, I run an agency. I want to bring on more clients. I want to improve our social media workflow. Then I'm actually going to put a button on the screen right now, and it will be on the screen for probably 5 minutes, I think I'll set it for. Now, what this button is, this gives you the option to schedule a call with a member of the Promo Republic team to ask them the questions that you might have, to see how the solution specifically could help you, and to see what the white labeling looks like, or anything like that. But more importantly, for a lot of you here, any of you who schedule a call with the team using that link, you will also get access to a special discount. So the solution is already very, very well priced, and I'll show you that later on. But if you use this link to schedule a call, you'll also be offered a special discount, and you'll be entered to win a free consulting call with myself and a load of other goodies. You'll get a few other bits and pieces shared with you, like tools, suggestions, template packs, etc. So could someone just let me know that that link is visible and that it's working? That would be really, really awesome. And then we'll move on to points 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, cool. Thank you, Todd. So yeah, any questions? If you want to learn more, go ahead, schedule a call using that link. After 4 minutes, that option will disappear and you'll lose the opportunity to have a call and have a special discount as well. So tip number 2, how many of you are posting content frequently on LinkedIn, or how many of you have a good LinkedIn profile set up? Okay, good. So LinkedIn, for me, and my personal brand in general, has been the biggest driver of business for us. Now, when things get busy, like we've just launched a new website for our agency, we're hiring, we're onboarding new clients, when things get busy, I forget to publish content, right? Not all the time, but I forget. And I hate doing that. So over the last, I haven't actually published a video up until a few days ago. I hadn't published a video on LinkedIn for over a month. And you'll see my profile traffic here kind of stagnated at like 100 views a week, 40, 50 views a week, right? Because I wasn't posting. This was just people naturally coming to my profile because a lot of people do that anyway. Oh, so Debbie said she can't see the button. So Debbie, what I'll do is, if you're on mobile, that might be why. I will share a link to schedule a call in the chat box right now. I'll share the same link. Let me know if you can see that, Debbie. So I realized, look, I hadn't been posting on LinkedIn when I first started the business. That's where my audience came from. That's where a lot of my clients came from. So this week I was like, okay, I'm going to publish a video at least every couple of days on LinkedIn and start doing this again and be active because it's so powerful for me. Look at this right here. This is just this week. My profile views have increased 268% since last week. All I've done is publish 2 videos. That's it. Not even talking about business, just talking about where I've been, the fact that I haven't posted, and then a video talking about hiring employees. But my traffic has increased 268%. And look, I've had this. This was a message I received this morning. Oh, that highlight is really bad. Let me undo that. This right here is a message that I received this morning. Inbound leads. That is exactly what we want. Hi Dylan, I just viewed your recent video and would be keen to learn more about the services we provide. Me and this guy have a call next week, right? So publish on LinkedIn, create content on LinkedIn, share your story on LinkedIn, talk with people on LinkedIn, build your personal brand. I guarantee you it will drive new business for you. Debbie, just a quick question. Did that link appear in the chat box for you? Please let me know. And I encourage all of you to please use LinkedIn more. If you want some inspiration, I'm not saying my profile is perfect, but please go ahead, check me out if you want some ideas for content that you can post, videos that you can post, just to see how I've structured my profile as well. I do a lot of speaking about LinkedIn and social media, so I'm very, very passionate about it. I haven't seen a response from Debbie in the chat, so I just want to check also that everyone can hear me okay still, and you can still see the deck. If someone could just let me know. Maybe Debbie just is doing something else. Yeah, all good. Okay, cool. Thanks. Just want to double check. You never know. Okay, so let's get to number 3. Scalable processes, build them out. This is something I sucked at when I first started and I'm still trying to get better at, but you think about, or just think about sports that you watch, right? It's based on a team, not just one individual, unless you're watching like boxing or something. But championships are based on teams. And what I'm going to say is this, think about how they do that. They have process. When you're growing, I want you to start documenting all of the stuff that you're doing. I know it seems very boring, but you know what happens? Like, let's say you go to McDonald's or Chipotle or whatever. You go there because you're getting the same experience every single time. You know what the process is, you know how it works, and you expect the same outcome, the same result. You know what you're going to get. And you want to build out that kind of experience for clients with your agency too. When you have people that come in, every single person is different, but you want to perform for them in a very similar way. And the way that you do that is having scalable processes. Once you build out a process and it's like you have this written down, you have this mapped out, it becomes easy to hire people, easy to onboard people, easy to grow your revenue because there is a process for them all to follow. So anything that you find just doing more than 3 or 4 times, write it down, add it to your notes app, and remember to go back to it and start to build out a process for that. So that's number 3. Number 4 is very, very simple. Just increase your pricing. I think pricing is the biggest lever that you can pull to grow your business very, very quickly. Don't be afraid to charge more. So for me right now at our agency, our retainers were 2,000 euros a month. Like, that's how we set things. It was 2,000 euros a month. And then this month I decided to increase them, and I increased them to 2,500 euros a month. And it's not been a problem with anyone. We've onboarded a couple new clients, paying extra, and like that is a good increase for us, and it's a quick lever to increase like the value of your agency and the revenue for your business. So don't be afraid. Think about your pricing model, think about ways that you could increase it. Because even if you lose a couple clients, maybe, like if you lose a couple clients, the increase will offset that loss and normally take you further on in the line anyway. And then the 5th and final one is just push for growth. There's preparing to scale, and then there's actually scaling your client base. Once you've got the building blocks for scaling put in place, like you have things steady, you have the right number of clients, you have a consistent incoming flow of clients, you have a process for delivering work and something that's repeatable and scalable, then you start really pushing for the growth. So look at your most successful marketing channels, invest more in those. push more actively for referrals, request that your happy clients recommend you to other people, get them to provide you testimonials, consider collaborating with other agencies maybe that offer services that you don't, invest more money in what is working and invest more time in what's working and really pushing and driving that growth forward. So one more thing before we stop and do the Q&A, because we're about 35 minutes in now. I want to leave enough time for Q&A. So one more thing before we get to that. For those of you who are currently looking at different social media solutions, as I said to you, I used to work for these guys. I used to work at Hootsuite. And this is how Promo Republic agency-specific solution does stack up against those in terms of price point, in terms of things that it can do. We did this calculation actually that said if you manage, let's say, 30 social media accounts, you have a number of different team members, and you want the white labeling, you want to be able to monitor mentions and hashtags of your clients, choosing Promo Republic over the competition could save you anywhere between $600 and $5,400 every single year. And you'll see that the tool stack that you get is much stronger than most of the competition. Nobody has this content library. No one has this, right? This is such a great, valuable asset. And also one thing to notice, nobody else has the monitoring of Google My Business, which is really important for a lot of you who work with local businesses and need to monitor reviews. And of course, the pricing is very attractive, starting from $99 with the monitoring $49, and you get a discount if you schedule a call using that link I shared earlier on today. So the way that the agency-specific solution works is broken down into 3 core pillars: the creation, the collaboration, and the reporting. So you can create all of your content, schedule all of your content all in one place, collaborate with your client on your own white labeled solution, making you look even more professional and giving you ability to charge more to just improve that client experience, and then reporting back to your clients too. And those 3 pillars are broken down with the graphics editor that we talked about and the post ideas library, the collaboration platform that I showed you earlier on, and each one of your clients will have their own business profile so you can have all of their branding assets in there and quickly switch between them, etc. So not here to like push the agency solution on you, but any of you who are managing a social media marketing agency are looking to scale your business, I can guarantee you this is a very cost-effective solution, but also a solution that will help you drive your business forward faster and really help you impress your clients. So if you do want to find out more about it, I really encourage you to schedule a call with the team. But that's enough of me telling you how great Promo Republic is. Hopefully you can see how passionate I am about the team behind Promo Republic, the tool itself, the solution, and this educational platform as well. So I want to thank all of you. What I'm going to do now is pause and stop and just take some questions, because I'm sure some of you might have questions on scaling your agency, maybe on LinkedIn stuff, maybe on the agency solution itself, or anything related to building an agency. So please do use that text box to type away, put some questions in there. If not, if you're going to leave us right now, then I just want to say thank you. I hope you found today's session valuable and enjoyable. And please come back and join us again. We do these every single week, so hopefully I'll see you next week on the other session. So thank you if you spent your time with us today, and I will see you soon. But anyone who has questions, get them in now. So Margaret, unfortunately you can't schedule, or you can't post directly to Instagram from the platform. You can schedule it, but you'll still need to approve it in an app on your phone. And this is something that is the case for many platforms at the moment. We're still waiting for approval on that. Since the Cambridge Analytica problem, Facebook and Instagram put a freeze on giving extra people access, and that's why many of the platforms at the moment don't have that direct posting capability. But it will. You can still schedule posts. You just have to approve them in an app on the phone. But I can't say exactly when it's coming. It will be coming at some point, but we're still waiting from Facebook to kind of remove that hold or that pause. No worries, Todd. Thank you. I can see a few more people typing away, so I'm just going to hang around and see what questions we get that come through. Also, if you want to catch the replay of this webinar, all of the webinars we've done in the past are loaded up onto the Promo Republic YouTube channel, so go ahead and take a look at that. Yeah, Leyland, really good question. So we use something called Slite, S-L-I-T-E. It's kind of like Evernote, but a lot better. We use that for processes there. Matt, so there's not a Facebook ad solution within the agency platform, but as a service offering and a service add-on, the Promo Republic team can support with Facebook ads too. So you might have seen there was a service offering for content bundles. They can also support with ads if you needed, like basic ads, like post boosting and stuff like that. But if you did want to find out a bit more about that, I don't have a full expertise in how they manage that offering, so I would recommend using that call booking link and having a chat with them because they'll be able to help you out with that, I'm sure. Does anybody else have any questions or would like me to expand on anything? Awesome. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it, Matt. I hope it's useful for you. Hey, Leyland. Yeah, so there's a few ways to approach that. Actually, our clients, we do have like a 3-month initial agreement with them. And at the end of those 3 months, it then becomes month to month. That's the point when I have that conversation with them. If we've driven good results, which usually we have, then it makes it easy to have that conversation. Alternatively, it can just be like, go back to the results you've driven for them, explain to them that, hey, our pricing is increasing, and like just stick with it. There's a few different kind of strategies and tactics. For me, that's the way I do it, is once we have driven really good results for them, or once we're at that 3-month period where then we start to talk about what happens next, that's when I would do it. But yeah, I'm sure with local clients it might be a bit different. I'm not sure. Maybe if you don't want to raise prices with current clients, when you're having meetings like discovery meetings or sales meetings with potential new clients, just start increasing your pricing from what it is currently and see what the response is like. That would be another kind of approach to take on that. No problem. Happy to help. That's what we're here for. Okay, I can still see a few more people typing, so I will hang around. Hey, Margaret. So I'm pretty sure you'd have to check with the team on a call, but I'm pretty sure it's not limited by channel. I think it can be that number of accounts can be structured anyway. I'm pretty sure. Matt, that is a very good question. I actually don't know. So if you came in late, in the introduction, I mentioned that I am actually an agency owner myself. I don't work for Promo Republic. I'm more of a brand evangelist, right? I support them with this education-based platform. So I don't know all of the ins and outs. I actually don't know the answer to your question. But if you have a call with the team tomorrow, as you said, I would just check with them because that's obviously something they would be able to answer for you. But I just don't want to try and give you an answer if it's the wrong one. So to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure. It's really nice to have all these questions, so thank you, everybody. It's good to help you and support you. No worries, Matt. Does anybody else have anything? I can see the number of attendees is like dwindling as people leave, so I'm guessing not. If we don't have any more questions in the next like 10, 15 seconds, what I'll do is close down the webinar room. So thank you, everyone. I really do appreciate your time. I hope you found this beneficial. I hope you enjoy talking with the team and hopefully seeing how the agency solution can help you out. And I hope to see you as Promo Republic customers very, very soon. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.